the office then? Where is
We're in the Student Services building.
Okay.
Student Employment is also there. They're on the second floor, we're on the third floor. It is a site. We also have a link so that you go right back to the company's website so that you get more information about the company as well. That is important to do before you go to fair because you need to be able to tell them why you're in line, what you're interested in, and why you might want to work with them. A lot of times, well, not a lot of times, but sometimes students will get up there and say, I don't know, what have you got, and it kind of leaves the impression with the recruiter that you really haven't done your homework, and part of making a good impression is your preparation beforehand. So
you should bring your resume.
Oh, definitely. You bring your resume, but you do your homework before that. The last thing you want to do is stand in line at 84 tables, not knowing why you're there, thinking, oh, I need to talk to everyone. You probably don't want to talk to everyone. You want to do the research, go on the website, find which companies you do want to talk to, make a list of your #1 companies, because it gets crowded in there. We may have anywhere from 1,000 to 1,500 students during the course of the 4 hours. So lines can get long, especially for real popular employers, right? And if you're just going from table to table because you haven't done your homework, you're not going to have enough time to get around to all of the employers or the ones that you really should be talking to. So doing your homework ahead of time is really important to do that.
Have a resume check?
Well, there is drop-in advising, so someone can look at your resume quickly, something that can take 10 minutes. But if they feel like you need to do more work, then they would set you up for an appointment, an hour appointment. One of the things we also suggest is you keep a folder with your resume, and then as you do other things, or finish a degree, get some kind of scholarship, get an award, you put information in your folder about that award, so that when you want to update your resume, and you should update it periodically, you have all the information that you need to be able to, that other people know the things that you've been doing, right? So you should always keep a folder with just some bits of information that, someday you sit down at 2 in the morning to redo your resume, you don't necessarily remember everything that's happened, but if you have your folder with that kind of information, it'll make it easier for you to update your resume. And we're more than happy to go over your resume, make sure that it's done well, the formatting is right, no spelling errors, because that's the first thing that an employer is going to see, and it either gets you at least an interview or it keeps you out of an interview. And we've seen some really bad resumes that we've hopefully improved, and we've seen some really great resumes, and employers let us know, hey, your students are doing well or they're not doing well, you need to work on this. Generally, the employers are pretty happy with UIC students.
And that is because of the fact that a lot of office supplies stores can give you a blank business card, and most of you have computers. I would also suggest you make a business card. Put your name on it, put UIC on there, put the date of your graduation and your major. It gives you an excuse to hand it to a vice president of a corporation and say, may I have yours? And then after the event, write them a letter or an email and say, thank you for letting me talk to you. So those are also handy things to have in addition to your resume.
And as you run into people, you might want to have your 30-second or 60-second elevator speech
Okay.
where you describe who you are and why you're talking to them and
Yeah.
what your interests are. And you'd be surprised sometimes the opportunities you run into when it's least expected. I mean, you just walk in an elevator, there's somebody there that you really should be talking to, right? So you've got to be prepared in that sense too. LinkedIn is another thing that you should develop your profile there and make your connections there, because you never know. That also is used extensively by some people to recruit and to look for talent.
How would you recommend for the resume for like a non-traditional student? So, I'm approaching 30 when I graduate. So should I put the education as the emphasis at the top, or should I put real world experience at the top and just kind of the education down at the bottom? I finished the degree.
Probably your real world experience would go at the top, and you tailor every resume to the kind of position that you're applying for. So your resume may not always be the same. You kind of look at it from the perspective of the recruiter. What are they looking for, and what are the things that I've done that this particular recruiter might be interested in? And that might be different than another position that you apply for where other skills might be highlighted. So You know, you kind of have to look at it from their perspective and the skills that they're looking for, and maybe readjust some of the information in your resume so that those things are highlighted. People don't spend a lot of time looking at resumes. I mean, they may have a stack of resumes and spend a few seconds, well, maybe more than a few seconds, but they don't spend hours looking at resumes. They go through them real quickly, and if something doesn't, you know, stand out to them, you know, they may not, you may not get the call. You know, some of the employers won't even take your resume, and sometimes the students walk away from career fairs all discouraged. Oh, it was a waste of time. They told me to go to the website. But you know, it's important to talk to someone. You know, it's important if you make an impression, even though you may be going back to the website to actually apply for a position, they may go back and look for your application. You know, because you made an impression with them. In talking to the recruiters, you also get a better sense of what are the skills they're looking for. So you may be able to tailor the application that you do online to highlight those things, right? So your interaction with a recruiter may result in making a good impression, which might result in them looking for your application. But if nothing else, it provides you more information that you can then use to make a better application when you go online. I mean, when they tell you to do that, for them, that's the first hurdle. If you can't even go online and apply online, then how serious can you be about working with them, right? I mean, if you can't spend the time to do that. So, you know, when you go to a fair, if they're not picking up your resume, if they're not, you know, if they're telling you to go online, well, that's the process that some employers use. Others will take your resume and we'll work off of that. But everyone's a little bit different. It doesn't mean if they tell you to go online that they're not interested. It's just their process. It's a process that they're going to use for their particular, you know, employment opportunities, right? So if you're interested, follow up on it.
I think Andres is absolutely correct, and you're so fortunate now that you have word processing programs that can let you adjust so quickly. In our day, right, we used to have to type a new one every time. But it is that important thing of putting yourself in the employer's perspective. If you have 10 years of work experience, that's great. But if you're changing fields, if you've now decided you want to become an architect, and before you've been a high school teacher, you want to show them now you have your architecture credentials, because you know that's what they want to see first. And then use your real world experience to explain why that's going to make you a better architect, because of all the human interaction you've had or the space you've been dealing with or something. So very much you have to customize a resume now. And I absolutely agree with you about the online stuff. It is the process. Don't take that personally ever. But that's why if you can do the card swap and then refer to somebody who spoke to you at the career fair when you're submitting the resume, every one of those little pieces distinguishes you.
Well, actually, we do a general interviewing workshop where we'll talk about what you do in an interview, and we also do videotape mock interviews. So one of the things that people do, you know, when they're being videotaped is either they can find out that they're doing great, you know, and that helps you with your confidence, or you might find out that no one can hear what you're saying, right? You know, and we've had students, you know, watch their video and say, I couldn't hear what I was saying, and yeah, that's true. You've got to, you know, speak a little louder, or, you know, just be able to explain what's on your resume a little bit better. So it can work both ways. It can either build your confidence because you see, hey, that looked really good, and so you walk into your next interview with a lot of confidence because you know you can do a good job. Or it might tell you some things that you need to work on, right? And the person doing the interview will also talk to you about that. So we do that as well.